Okay, kick this one off. So got you all. Since this one got you all in your feelings.
Let's kick this off, man. I'm a little confused, flabbergasted. This whole talk, man, I'm hearing from different sides. This whole rinseless deal. Rinseless, waterless. I know rinseless and waterless, two different things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you, what is rinseless to you?
Okay, so Rinseless has evolved rapidly in the past, I would probably say the past like 2-3 years. It's like people just discovered it. It's been out for a long time. It's not anything new. It's been on the market for a long time. Now everybody has a Rinseless, and it seems like the more people that use Rinseless are now using it in different methods than the traditional Rinseless. So I think there is a lot of confusion. So I think there is confusion there with folks where they see them doing certain things. It's like, whoa. I thought you were doing a rinseless process. Because to me, rinseless is the process we use for, when we're doing classic vehicles that are, that don't leave certain areas, or vehicles that are in a garage, maybe weather's not permitting, so you have to use a different type of method when washing the vehicle. Or it might be a new car that just doesn't need heavy soiling.
Right.
A vehicle that's maybe a weekend driver. There's vehicles that we've maintained for years and we've never touched them with water, that wasn't a rinseless solution. But I think the process has changed quite a bit, and I think there's been new variations to the process, and now there's this big kind of rinseless or soap, or you rinseless or foam, which to me is absurd, because let's face it, there's some cars you're just not gonna do. You do an off-road vehicle rinseless. Let me see you. Nobody does it because it's not faster in all the cases.
You got an off-road vehicle. Do you guys use rinseless? I'm sure some folks have.
Yeah, all these rinseless, enthusists. Well, there's a place for rinseless. Well, there's a place for it. We use rinseless. We've never stopped.
I'm not clowning on rinseless. I'm not saying which one is better. However, I'm just saying, what the heck is it? Because I hear most different detailers say what they use, how they do rinseless.
And I made a video about rinseless maybe 2-3 years ago, and I was using ONR at the time, and I had been using ONR for years. The first few years that I detailed, I didn't have water with me, so I used the rinseless process. And going from a rinseless process to pressure washer soap, to me, yes, on certain vehicles, you could get a good clean doing the rinseless process. But there's always areas, cracks and crevices and things that you can't do with just simply a rinseless process using a dedicated sponge or microfiber towels. As much as I tried, I was unable to. For instance, things like wheels, terrible. Absolutely terrible. And in that video, I show my process for doing the wheels, and it's absolutely terrible trying to do rinseless on a vehicle with big caliber brakes systems, and even vehicles that have certain type of rims.
Bro, acid struggles on these big rims.
Yeah. So a lot of the people that say, "Oh yeah, rinseless could do it," it's just a flat out lie. Like rinseless, it has its place, but it also has its limits to where your expectations of what the rinseless can do need to be a reality. So now people are stating that, okay, well, it doesn't mean rinseless that you're not rinsing it at all, because before it meant that you weren't rinsing it at all. It meant that you were spraying the panel to prep it, right? Letting it dwell, then you'd go in with your contact, and then you go and dry off. So there was no rinsing in it. So now they're saying, okay, well, now it's rinseless. It's less rinsing. So they kind of use its own name in its favor, like you're rinsing less. So yeah, obviously you're rinsing less if you're going to be pulling out a pressure washer, but then it comes back to what?
You bring out the pressure washer. I'm using the pressure washer, pimping.
Exactly.
That thing is out. Yeah. I'm using that thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, am I wrong? Like when you say we're using rinseless, the hose stays in place. It's not no running water.
Well, then it's also pushed as, you'll save water.
I ain't trying to save no water. I ain't trying to save no water. Yeah. I'm trying to clean this car.
It's for the environmentalists.
Well, I get it, but
people that care.
Well,
for the green folks out there.
Well, we use biodegradable chemicals.
Yeah.
Take that.
So it's one of the, and now people are using the rinseless solution just like soap.
Well, yeah.
So they're using it just as, it's foamed on, dwells, and that's kind of like the pre-spray, or they'll go in with the pressure washer after that, pre-rinse it. But I've even seen guys go in and do and we've had guys that we've consulted with, and they're like, why is it taking me so long to wash a car? And they do a pre-rinse with a solution, say a Built Hammer or a Multi-Star. They do the pre-rinse on there, going on, foaming it on a dry vehicle, letting it encapsulate, pull down. They pressure wash that to rinse. Then they foam cannon. Then they rinse that off. And then they go in with the rinseless solution. So that's, in that case, you're not saving water. You're using so much more water. And you're really not, you can cut out a lot of those steps there. It's like, if you're using the pressure washer, just foam it and go into the contact washer. Foam it, do your pre-rinse, then foam and go into your contact wash. The people have looked at this rinseless almost like they need to incorporate it into their business somehow. Incorporate it when it's needed. We incorporate it whenever it's needed. Because is it a fast process? Yes. All the time? No. I would say it's faster about 60% of the time, if that. But here's the thing. We've gone rinseless, and with 2 people and the system that we've already developed, we're faster using foam. That's how efficient we are.
Right. You know what? It kind of seems like to me.
But for the average person, it's faster because you're cutting out steps.
The rinseless process is like the new 2-bucket method. It's like the 1-bucket method. When I'm doing a car, I don't want to dump anything into a bucket.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, that's maybe because that's just
you want zero risk of contamination onto the paint surface. And you don't want to waste that time doing that.
Filling up the bucket.
Yeah. No, dunking the thing in. Like that. That's just, to me, that's just, eliminate that shit. That's just, that makes no sense to me. The 2-bucket method never made sense to me. Never used it. I just used the multi-mitt method.
And rinse off the mitt if you don't have enough mitts.
Yeah, if you don't have enough rinse, just wring it out, rinse it off. Yeah. But more than likely, you'll have enough mitts, because even if you run out of mitts, you have microfiber towels with you. So you could even go in with a bucket full of microfiber towels, and that's how we do rinseless too. I don't do rinseless with the sponge. I have multiple in the bucket. I'll put multiple microfiber towels. That way, when we go to site, we have the towels that have already been soaking in the solution, so they're drenched. All we do is give a quick pre-spray, go through. We have plenty of solution falling off, plenty of solution for lubrication. Then it's just a quick dry after, and then a detail spray or sealant, whatever you're going in for. But there's been a lot of rinseless solutions that have a really long, and there's been rinseless solutions that have a big latitude of uses as far as application. For instance, here's a great example: P&S Pearl. It's one of the most underrated shampoos out there, because Pearl, you can dilute that down and use that as a rinseless wash. You can dilute it down, use it or you can dilute it up. So you can dilute it down to where it's a rinseless wash. You can use it as a snow foam. It doesn't foam a lot. You can use it as a detail spray. You can even use it as a waterless wash. P&S Pearl. Like, that's how versatile Pearl is. And that's like super, super lubricated. I love Pearl just for when you're wiping, when you're cleaning with it, there's nothing as slick as Pearl. That to me is like the ultimate safety. I can feel the lubrication on the surface. I can feel the lubrication when I put my hand to the bucket. It's a different type of feeling. It's almost like a thick moisturizer or something is in there. So there's been versatility when it comes to soaps before, but why people are doing it now, I don't know. I think they just want to try what's new or what they think is new out there on the market. And everybody's jumping on the train. Everybody's like, okay, rinseless, rinseless, rinseless. Yes, it could. Is it going to be the way? Was foam kind of like a fad? Was it kind of, some people see it that way, but I think all processes are going to be based on how the individual uses it. I use foam to get the soap onto the surface at a very fast rate. The one thing I do like about rinseless is it helps me I like to do rinseless before I do polishing, because it gives me a better idea of what the paint is like, because I'm paying a little bit more attention. I tell people it's kind of, for me, it's like shooting 35 millimeter with a little camera in your hand, the standard camera that most people would have back in the day. You're shooting with a 35 millimeter. It's real compact. You're just moving around, mobile, taking photos. So it's more snapshot type of action and stuff like that. When you go to a medium format camera, a bigger camera that produces a bigger negative, it slows you down because you have bigger equipment with you. So you're paying more attention to the subject. You're coordinating things, making sure the light's right, making sure, because you only have X amount of shots per frame. 35 millimeter, you have 36 shots. 645, you may only have 15. So there's going to be differences. There's always going to be differences in the process. And with me, with rinseless, when I'm doing rinseless the way that I do it, no pressure washers, just, with my pre-spray and then my drenched towel. When I use that process, I'm evaluating the panels really good. So what's confusing you about the rinseless?
I guess the whole you don't need you still have the hose. You still using the pressure washer. And like that's the part that boggles my mind.
Yes.
That's like having a tool out, using it only to 50% capacity and then putting it away.
Yeah. To me, that's the way I see it. I'm like, you're doing the wheels. And then there's, then when I hear people say, oh, it's a superior product, but they never talk about the wheels ever. You watch any of these videos, they don't really talk about the wheels doing rinseless because it's not very effective. Wheels, you got to go in there, even with soap, with heavy stuff, you got to go in there and scrub. Trying to do that rinseless, it ain't going to happen.
I just want to get it clear. Like, I don't give a shit. We both don't give a shit what you use. Rinseless, soap, waterless. I'm just confused.
Because there's guys that get upset about it. Yeah, are like, oh, you can't.
Whatever makes your money, man.
I wouldn't do that. And coming from somebody that, a business that does both, I'm not gonna take a pressure washer to a lowrider or an exotic vehicle that's priceless.
Right.
That's vintage.
Or convertible with the rat.
Or a one of one. Top. Yeah, a one of one or something. It's like, no, we're not gonna, and we work on some valuable cars, and some of the cars that I see, it's like, yeah, it's gonna take me longer to do rinseless, but I also know it's a safer process. I know I don't have to worry about any kind of moisture being trapped in there. I know I have a little bit more control on things, but try doing some dirty work, strictly rinseless. It just doesn't make sense. And anybody that understands efficiency, the value of time, will know, okay, this right here, this is not a job for rinseless. There was jobs that I did before I had the rig, before I had, electrical, before I had any of this stuff with me, where I had to use rinseless and that's all I had. I did rinseless on a small fleet of trucks. It was 6 trucks. And that was probably the fucking worst day I've ever detailed. Ever. Absolutely ever.
Sounds horrible.
It was fucking terrible. And I had and I had the Department of Corrections that I went, And the Department of Direction, since they're on a green facility, I tell this story also in an old video of mine where it was my first fleet opportunity, but I had to do everything rinseless. And I said, nope, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Because you're being put on a time limit.
At that point, okay, switch.
And the vehicles are driving through mud. Imagine doing it. I did our fleet, the fleet we currently had. I did that rinseless.
Oh.
Can you imagine that shit?
No, let's drop this one, pimping.
Yeah, yeah. I was still profiting, but I was working like a dog. Like I was working extremely hard, and it was almost not worth it. I used to hate doing that fleet.
Well, rinseless. So yeah, at the correctional site.
Mm-hmm.
Rinseless. So you couldn't use water.
Can't use water.
So
it have to be a true rinseless. True rinseless.
Well, waterless has to do with the water inside the chemical.
No, waterless has to do if it's ready to use, like literally spray on the panel and wipe. That's waterless. Rinseless, you have to prep the surface first. And then you go in and you're using a bucket usually with something soaked in there. So that's what that used to be by definition the rinseless, because you're not rinsing you're not doing a pre-rinse and you're not doing a rinse at the end to remove soap or residue. You're picking up everything at the end with your, the idea is that the rinseless solution on the first drenched media is picking everything up or getting everything encapsulated and pulling it off the surface. And then you're just going in there with your drying towel. Possibly even your spray detailer first and then your drying towel.
Some folks don't even use drying towel after they do the rinseless.
No?
No. That's why a lot of folks use it, because that saves time as far as not using a drying towel.
Interesting, because sometimes there's residue that's left behind. And if they're not seeing that, I've never wiped with the rinseless and like let it sit and not had residue, because you'll have the little trails of it's not going to stain anything. All you got to do is wipe it up after. But I'm going to go in there and do it with the drying towel first, because otherwise you're really going to have to go through with the detail spray at the end to get rid of that. Because think about it, it's not going to be 100% gone. You wipe it.
No,
with the rinseless media, you're smearing. Yes, you're encapsulating a good amount of it, but you're also just smearing it. You're not getting 100% of it off.
Yeah, let's be real.
Yeah,
it encapsulating 100%.
No, nothing does. Yeah. Nothing does, and nothing is 100% safe. It all scratches. That's another myth. Where there's like, guaranteed way to not scratch the surface. That's bullshit.
You touch a car,
you're touching anything. You're fucking scratching it. To some level, maybe not to the naked eye, but to some level, if you're causing friction on a surface, it's going to tell you you're causing something. So it's one of those things where I think now it's just preference, but I see people using them in different ways, and it does confuse me because they're like, it's a hybrid wash. It's like, well, just do the real fucking thing. Just go in with the soap. Like you already got the rims going on over here. What the fuck? That's the hardest part. Let's do all the hard parts with why would they do the hard if rinseless is superior? If this is the case, I don't know what people are saying about it, because when I see a rinseless video, I just change the channel or I turn it off because I already know what rinseless does. I've used it forever. It's like it's not a new phenomenon to me. I'm not infatuated with it. I could give a fuck less about rinseless. It's not. Yes, it's there. It's a process, but it's not something I get excited about because, at the time when I was using it, and I still continue to use it, it does make certain jobs easier. But I know what it can't do, and I know the process that I use now, it'll knock all that shit out. Like I don't want to have to get. What happened to me a lot was when I was trying to use rinseless in all these different types of situations, there would be a time where it just fucking brought me to a halt. And I'm like, fuck, now I got to be in here by hand. Like get a grill that's all fucked up, like an Audi RS grill that has all the little tiny honeycombs. Try hitting one of those with the rinseless, and that shit's all. It's much easier to go in there with a brush and some soap, some nice, soap to go in there and really lather it up and get that stuff out. It just works a different way. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, this by science, this and that. I've done both. There was times where there's those areas also in, by the windshield blades.
Right.
That nasty area. When you do rinseless with that, almost all the fucking time, you might as well just tack on an extra 5-10 minutes to your job, because you're gonna have to go in there after and get all that shit out, because it just channels and sits there. So if you don't have a pressure washer or something kicking all that shit out,
and then also
or water,
when we use the pressure washer, when we foam it up, the floor mats inside the vehicle, taking those out, those are always beat up. And
yeah. And I think people talk about, when people say the time savings, they're just talking about the car itself. They're just talking about the car. But when you are doing a rinseless process, traditionally you don't have a hose or water with you. So yes, that was a fucking pain in the ass. Those any kind of rubber floor mats, that sometimes was longer than doing the car itself.
Yeah, because even with
the pressure washer, it's rough.
Those things get beat up, man.
Yeah, so there's the pros and the cons to the rinse. If we're just washing, if it's a car that we wash weekly, would I do it rinseless? There's some that I do with just a detail spray. So yeah, you could say that. I do waterless on some of them. But as far as, let's say, the Tahoe that we do every 2 weeks, it's in pretty good condition. It's pretty clean. But from time to time, it's going to get the mud kick up on it. It's going to get under the wheel wells are going to get nasty. So do I need to pull the pressure washer out? Yes, I have to. And if I'm pulling the pressure washer out, you're tripping if you think I'm going to do a rinseless process and pull out the pressure washer. No, I'm just going to pull the pressure washer out, foam the whole fucking car, wash it, then I'm done. And with 2 people, it's pretty quick.
That's like only foam the bottom of the car.
Well, that's what a lot of them do. Yeah, it's like, they're doing a heavy pre-rinse usually, pre-wash. Then they go in and do the rinseless wash. So they'll put everything away and then come out and do the rinseless wash. Do all the hard parts with, in my opinion, the superior way of cleaning. That's why they're doing the hard parts with it. Then they'll put that away and then do the easier parts with the,
You're doing rinseless on the engine bay?
Yeah. But here's the thing also. When you're one person, rinseless sometimes does make you faster.
I could see that.
It makes you faster. You can be a lot faster if you're working by yourself. So again, it has its pros and the cons, because to me, there's just as many pros as cons.
What was that?
But in our business, we use it when we need to.
What was the when PNS came out with it? What was it? Absolute?
Absolute.
What was that process? Because I like that process. That car was feeling nice. Nice.
So they all pretty much state the same way. You do a pre-spray on the dry surface. So whether usually you fill the bucket up with the solution that it says, 256 to 1. I think that's usually what it is. Whatever, a few capfuls for 2 gallons or 3 gallons of water. So you have that solution in there. Then you fill up a spray bottle, IK foam, or I'm just giving you an example of what you spray that, or you fill that up, pump it, spray it on the panel. That's your pre-rinse. Or people will have that already in like their detail keg. So they'll pre-rinse the whole car, then go section by section, wipe it down, dry it, wipe it down, dry it, wipe it down, or you could just wipe the whole thing down, then dry it at the very end. It's all preference. Or you could give it another rinse at the end, which I would do, and then be done with it.
Let's talk about the bucket. The bucket that you use to dump your whatever you're using.
The media, yeah.
So most of the time you have one bucket, so you're coming back to that bucket,
or you're moving
that, or you're coming that. I just don't like bending over, dog. I ain't want to be just dumping over. I'm pretty sure you have to do it every panel.
Every panel.
That's what. Nine bend overs, 12 bend overs.
And what I would do is I would have, like, like I said before, I would have about 10 rags into the bucket, and then you flip them over, fold it inside out, so you have 8 sides. But I would grab, like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4, and throw them on the hood, and then that way, as I'm wiping whatever, okay, I got another one right here, got a fresh one here. So that's a way around that issue. But again, yeah, you got your little dolly, and this is a process. That's another pro for it is people that have to work in a garage. It gives you a solution. It gives you a way to clean your car. Before there was rinseless washes, because a waterless wash is a lot harder than a rinseless wash. The waterless is like pretty much you're cleaning with a detail spray when you're doing the waterless wash. Obviously, it's a different solution, but that's the same process. You're spraying it and you're wiping it, and that's a waterless wash. So car has to be pretty clean to be able to, in my mind, to qualify for a waterless wash. And that still has to be pretty clean as well, maybe a bit more soiling for a rinseless wash. But for me, if I could see grime on that car, it's getting soap. It's getting a contact, it's getting soap. I'm not messing around with no rinseless. And if it's not a car of value, it's definite. Well, they all have value, but it's getting soap, because soap's reaching areas and it's getting into crevices and it's working a little bit harder than a rinseless solution.
How about rinseless in the heat, summertime?
That's a good one, because it usually has something that helps with the water. It doesn't remove the water spotting, but I'm not sure what it does, if it helps neutralize the calciums or something. It does something to where it doesn't leave any type of water spotting on the surface once you add the solution to the water. And I've used that in our water here, which is really, really bad. So
horrible over here. So that's like close to 500 parts.
And that was one of the reasons I started using rinseless. And you could use rinseless on a hot panel, because you just soak that thing down with the pre-rinse, and then you just go in there like with a sopping wet one, and just with the wet towel.
And for sure, you don't need no drying towel with that in the heat.
Yeah. Well, you have to, because it leaves residue. It's going to leave residue behind because you're smearing.
You just haven't used the updated rinseless out there. Again, guys. I don't care. We don't care what you use. I had this question for Joel. I said, man, I don't know why this is taking data in my brain, but
I think people are just starting to use them differently. That's it. And there's nothing. At first, I was like, you're not even doing a rinseless wash, but I guess technically anything that if it says fucking rinseless wash on it and you're using it, then it's a rinseless wash. If your pressure washer gun says rinseless wash on it, I'm doing a rinseless wash. It's called rinseless wash. So if you're using that, and no matter how you're using it, it's still considered a rinseless wash, right? If I'm fucking putting it in my foam can and shooting it on my car, using it like a soap, it's still a rinseless wash, because I'm using it's called rinseless wash. So that's just what it is. That's the technicalities of this rinseless wash stuff. But people are using them. I personally like rinseless washes for the right occasion, and I think every detailer needs to have rinseless. We run with a small, little, tiny, concentrated bottle of O&R still in the vehicle, because if we ever need rinseless wash, we can make quite a bit with that little. What is it, a 6-ounce bottle, 8-ounce bottle? That little bottle can yield a ton of rinseless wash. So if we had to wash 10 cars, we could do it with that little bottle. So we keep that in our car for any, for times when it's appropriate. There's no reason you can't use it. And if you're in a garage if you're in a place where you get below freezing temperatures, you pretty much have to do rinseless wash. Everything freezes. You're trying to wash your car outside or
hang it up. You don't need to be washing nothing if everything's freezing.
Yeah.
Pick something else.
Well, if you're even in your garage, some guys don't have the
drainage, right?
The drainage. So what are you going to do? Rinseless wash. Yeah, rinseless.
Rinseless. That's what you do.
Yeah. So you go rinseless. It's a solution.
So
it's a solution.
So I guess the same argument can be made for waterless. The exact same argument.
I'm doing waterless.
Well, I'm doing the same thing.
Like waterless.
Yeah, I'm not using no water, or I'm using less water.
Tell that to the tell that when the city comes out to you and you're working outside. Hey, it's waterless.
Waterless, dog.
Waterless. This is waterless. This is waterless. But there's water all over.
Waterless.
Read it. Man, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Let us know your guys' favorite Rinseless if you use Rinseless. And I hope this cleared some stuff up for Sal. So catch you guys on the next one.